he was the first to describe in advance of NASA that Jupiter had rings like Saturn.
Hold on. How long?
I don't know what's going through your head right now.
My mind is blown. What are a couple of other ones that just blew you away?
It had to do with the directed energy system again, a high energy electron accelerator at Lawrence Livermore Laboratory. And I cheated in some sense, at least in my briefings, and I'll fess up to it every time. Joe was to do remote viewing in 8-hour segments, saying, hey, track this guy that's going to be on site somewhere in the Bay Area. And after the whole thing was over, we had one of the women on our project was a right sitter for United Airlines, so she had a private pilot as well. And we flew over Lawrence Livermore Lab at a high enough altitude we wouldn't get into trouble. And I took pictures that flattered the data. Didn't need to, because the Air Force was funding this, and they did the analysis, not me. But in my briefing, it looks overwhelmingly delightful. And I say, don't believe this as good as it looks, because it isn't, because I took pictures to make it look good. I fess up to that every time. But it's very, very stunning. I mean, Joe, for example, described the headquarters, the office building at Lawrence Livermore Lab, the shape of the building and the right number of floors, and he got that right, because that's where the guy was planning for the execution later on.
Wow.
Pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Anything else that really sticks out? Anything in space?
Ingo Swann did a project going, quote, out of body to Jupiter. And he, quote, did a, quote, flyby by Jupiter. I said, Ingo, how the hell do you know where Jupiter is? You can't find Jupiter on a map. How did you know how to do that? So I have no idea. I just said, here, Jupiter, here I come. And he was the first to describe in advance of NASA that Jupiter had rings like Saturn. Pretty impressive.
I mean, what is going through your head? Hold on. How long?
I don't know what's going through your head right now.
My mind is blown.
Oh, dear.
So what was the time between when he had remote viewed Jupiter and found out that there were and saw rings to actual imagery of it?
I don't know. I'd have to check, but it was not immediate. It was months.
It's only months.
Yeah.
And so what's going through your head after they came with that imagery?
Oh, it's impressive. Are you kidding? Well, we did another one, the remote viewer. It turns out that Jupiter has a whole bunch of moons, and one of them is called Io, and it goes around Jupiter very rapidly. It's very close to the surface. So it suffers an eclipse every orbit. So I went to my boss at SRI because Bulletin Watch Company wanted to give an award for somebody with the most interesting experiment on time. So I said, hey, I want to go to get that. And so my boss said, are you interested in winning the Bulletin Watch Company's, or do you want to actually do the experiment? I said, I really want to do the experiment. So he said, I'll fund it for you. So with this participant, we'd be up at 3 a.m. So I had the remote viewing was tell us in time when you remote view the moon of Jupiter and it's half lit. That was the definition of the eclipse time. Half lit by the shadow of Jupiter. I forgot how many trials we did. It was quite a number of them. And he was right within plus or minus 10 seconds. Now, the question is, in what time frame did he get that? Did he get it before because we had to hire a telescope at Chabot College to make the measurements for us, because how did we know when it was? Which they did for us. We paid them for it. So the question is, did this participant named Gary get it in Jupiter's time, which was 40 minutes ahead of the telescope, because it was 40 light minutes away? Or did he get it in? So the question is, what do you think? In other words, is remote viewing faster than the speed of light?
Jupiter time.
That's when it appeared. But the question is, did he actually get the data at that time? I think what happened is he got the data. He had his experience at that time, but he was actually getting the data from precognition of the next day's photograph we showed him the answer. And that's really hard to separate out.
Wow. Wow.
Some of these things are pretty hard to do, actually.
Yeah, I could imagine. Actually, I can't imagine. You know, wow.
Oh, come on, you hear. You can see why I have so much fun with it. And it's challenging, and it angers me that we can't figure out how to do this better than we do.
Yeah, and I'm learning a lot. So what's the Fort Meade piece? Are they an in-between?
Well,
So what I'm starting to understand is SRI's Stanford Research Institute, this wasn't their sole focus. You were the director of a program within Stanford Research Institute,
yeah,
correct?
SRI does a whole lot of stuff, sure.
So that I did not realize that. And so was Fort Meade the bridge between agencies and SRI?
No. Russ Targ and I completely agreed on this, that started with Ingo Swann. Ingo was he told me once that I should not be his friend because he's a bitch on wheels, and that was an understatement. And he said, I hate flying out here to California to do your stupid experiments. Why? There's an office in New York City for SRI. Let me do the experiments there. And Hal said, sure. And Ed and Russ Targ said, no. He's not a scientist. You need supervision on this. Well, Hal said no. And that started something we're paying deeply for even now, an Ingo Swann cult. That Ingo went there and trained. He was a brilliant guy, but he's not a scientist. And that started the Fort Meade people went up and were trained by all this guy, and almost none of them produced actionable intelligence.
So these are two totally separate entities.
Yeah.
Almost competitors.
No, my job, was to do research to make their job better.
Okay.
And they never opened any of my classified emails.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.